hands off these plots of land, what you should watch out for when buying land in Cyprus, and which offers you should avoid altogether. I'll tell you all about it in this video. Hello and welcome. My name is Florian Wilk. I am the Managing Director of CMC in Larnaca, Cyprus, and we provide comprehensive support on all matters related to real estate in Cyprus. And on this new channel, it's all about real estate, buying land, and so on. And of course, I regularly receive newsletters from various banks, real estate asset management companies, and property developers. Among other things, plots of land are often advertised there as well. And I really have to say, keep your eyes open when buying land. Unfortunately, there are always offers that I simply consider to be not reputable, because in my opinion, the terms are just not right and really not fair. And if you might not know the market in Cyprus, which is completely normal if you're just about to emigrate or have recently moved here, even if you've been here for 5 years, if you don't deal with these things every day, then of course you lack this knowledge. So please be very careful, because I want to help you avoid mistakes and simply support you with this video in choosing and buying the optimal plot of land. For example, I received a newsletter today where plots of land are being offered in the district of Nicosia, in a suburb, actually in a relatively central location. And here a plot of land costs from 520 square meters, 169,000 euros plus value-added tax, so value-added tax with a 35% building density and a building coefficient of 60%. That's standard, that's a typical building zone, nothing unusual about it. But I really have to say, for this location, for this town, the land prices are simply well above the market. Well above what you would normally pay for such a plot. If we were talking about a different region here, it would be a different situation. But in this suburb, that's just not right. But in this place near Nicosia, I have to say, such prices are really exaggerated, in my opinion. And I keep seeing this with the big real estate developers. They either build a huge number of villas, set up a large project, or buy a big piece of land, parcel it into lots, and then simply offer prices that are well above the market price, yet they always seem to find buyers. And that's a shame, because of course it can easily take you 2, 3, 4, or even 5 years to make up for that extra cost through appreciation. And apart from that, for expats at least, this is not a location that's interesting or even worth taking a closer look at. In this case, it's simply an example of overpriced properties and of the approach. I won't mention any names, I don't want to speak badly about any companies, but I do want to inform you about the phenomenon itself. Yes, it's simply a phenomenon that I often see with the big property developers. The prices are simply not in line with the market, often 20, 30, sometimes even 40% above the usual market conditions. So, how do I find a proper, attractive plot of land? One that I would actually like to invest in, where I'd enjoy building. What I advise against is searching on the usual online platforms. You can do that to get a general sense, but honestly, you'll end up more confused than informed, because the land market in Cyprus is very, very confusing. There are often plots that are divided among several owners, which means you might only own half or a third or 20% of a plot. You can't do anything with that, of course, and first you'd have to come to an agreement with the co-owners, who usually have no interest at all in doing anything with the property. You should absolutely steer clear of that. Then there are also plots that have, or pieces of land, so to speak, that aren't even in a building zone, which means you can't build on them at all. So that's just regular land, but not a plot, meaning not a property you're allowed to build on. Sometimes there are utility lines that either run across the property or underground, which can severely restrict you when it comes to construction activities. Sometimes there are encumbrances of all kinds. So you really have to look very, very carefully. And in my opinion, without a specialist real estate agent, you're truly lost when it comes to buying land and run a high risk of falling into some kind of trap. Because many agents, unfortunately, won't tell you if there's a problem. For example, if a plot doesn't yet have access or isn't even buildable yet, is not yet designated as building land, and that has to be applied for first and then through a specialist. That often takes 2 or 3 years. So these are things that if you do not know about them beforehand and are just happy about what seems like a cheap price, you can end up paying dearly for, because you have to accept the waiting time or might even realize you have suffered a loss since the value is not actually there due to defects or, as mentioned, this co-ownership situation, which you really do not want. That is truly a disaster, because if you only own 50% of the property, and that happens very, very often, you really have no way to act. Your hands are completely tied. The money is invested in a plot of land that you cannot use. And I mention this because I often have cases where people come to us asking for legal assistance, seeking advice, but by then the damage is already done. And that really frustrates me personally, because if you spend a small amount of money to have a legal review done in advance before you even make a reservation or do anything, so before you sign or make any payment, you can save yourself a lot of trouble and a lot of expensive lessons. That's why my tip when buying land is this: go to a specialist real estate agent who is particularly focused on land. If you like, I can also share some contacts with you. This is an option I am happy to offer, one I have used myself, and I know that these people work properly and honestly. Nevertheless, I would always recommend hiring a lawyer for a legal review. We also have our in-house law firm is also happy to assist with this topic, by the way. So if you have a property or a plot of land in mind and would like to have it checked, as I said, before you make any payment, of course, then you are more than welcome to send us the documents. We then need 2, 3, or 4 working days to review everything thoroughly, possibly consult with the authorities if necessary, and then we will give you an initial assessment. Is the whole thing worth a second, closer look, or is it perhaps a complete risk? For example, if there are encumbrances, utility lines running through the property, or other issues you might not be aware of, such as co-owners or similar matters. I'm happy to offer you that service, and I want to support you with it. When it comes to searching for land, that's less my area. That really needs to be handled by specialist real estate agents. You need someone who is truly highly specialized and deeply immersed in the subject matter. But above all, we can support you if you wish with the legal review and of course also with the subsequent purchase process. In Cyprus, we don't have a notary system like you know from Germany or Austria. Instead, real estate purchases are handled by lawyers. Here, it is customary for 1 to 1.5% of the purchase price to be charged as a lawyer's fee. We charge 1%, speak German, and support you from A to Z. I think that's a very fair offer, which you are, of course, very welcome to take advantage of. So I hope I was able to give you some tips, a few pointers on what to look out for when buying land in Cyprus. Thank you very, very much for your attention. I would be happy if you subscribe to my channel, and feel free to give me a like as well. If you enjoyed the video, and yes, feel free to send me comments, write a comment, and maybe you've already seen such plots of land, shown interest, and then realized it was an absolute disaster. Or maybe you've already fallen into such a trap and unfortunately had to experience it yourself. Then please do share that. I'm always very curious about your experiences and your feedback. And of course, we can also have a great discussion about it. So thank you very much. See you very, very soon. All the best. Your Florian Wilk.